Now Aldous Huxley, the brother of Julian Huxley, he wrote Brave New World in the 1930s, where he predicted in his novel genetic engineering that would eventually create the perfect types of slaves. Back in the 1930s. How is that? Because he was born into a very prestigious family, aristocrats, going all the way back to Darwin. They were very closely associated with Darwin and actually related to him as well. And they were all participating in top think tanks that projected the future of the world. Not guessing it's comparable with planning a war scenario, some Navy officials getting together on the maps and projecting where they want to go and where they want to be within a 6-month time frame. In a year, etc., this place around the world, halfway around the world, wherever. That's how they run the future. And then he wrote Brave New World Revisited to show you how this could be turned into reality. And he also said that it would be very, very possible for a small group of people, very, very wealthy people with scientific background, to control the entire world and the minds of everyone on the planet. That was a possibility he knew way back then. And what he said was very similar to what Mr. Rockefeller said. Mr. Rockefeller said that the people would come to him to bring in this new world system. The people would come to them with perfect docility because the minds of the public would be so worked on by mass psychology, perfect psychology. And it's no coincidence that they all say the same, because they all attend the same think tanks and they all work on the same agenda. Aldous Huxley said, a really efficient, totalitarian state would be one in which the all-powerful executive of political bosses and their army of managers control a population of slaves who do not have to be coerced because they love their servitude. What one is going through now is the voluntary servitude idea. All countries putting this into play. Britain is doing it, the Americas. Canada is putting forward a proposal to get all the youth first involved, to get a special indoctrination in ideology to start serving the world system. Exact the same stuff as the Soviets were brainwashed into when they were young people. And then Obama even said it will not stop at that age. They want you to carry on and get older people into it too. And to carry on serving the world state for as long as it takes, maybe your whole life. This is how it is done, you see. You think this is all happening now by chance. Every country puts the same enactment through at the same time. The Department of Defense for Britain released a 90-page manual planning future with massive riots starting shortly up to the year 2030 over basic things like food and energy. There'll be massive unemployment that's seen all over the Western world primarily. They said they probably would have to use small battlefield neutron bombs to disperse flash crowds. Flash mobs, as they call them. This is a planned takedown. No one at the top lost anything. Nothing. If one reads the old books of aristocratic Britain written by the aristocrats, they hated the middle classes, but they needed them to manage the system of the industrial age and also the empire-building age. They needed them so badly, but they hated them and wrote about them as like apes imitating their betters. This is the kind of language they used quite openly in their own books. The communist system, born in London, emphasizes on the same thing, that the middle class would have to be eradicated, so classes can get built up and destroyed. Now it's the time for the lower class to get destroyed. Along with that goes the middle class as well. The future they planned is more along the lines of Arthur C. Clarke's last book before he died. It was called 3001. It was first 2001. Be a high mason, of course. He knew that the New World Order would kick off in all earnestness in 2001, and if you understand even the book and the movie version, it was not about space at all. And that's how they write their stuff to each other, you see. And then he wrote 2010, that would be the big crunch. It's a big change. A new system would be born 2010, and then there would be a lot of changes going on for almost 1,000 years, until 3010. By then there would be just one class left. The ones that would be of scientific descent. It's a hard thing to come across reality. We certainly will not find it in mainstream media. Once it is understood how to decipher reality, one can definitely see where mainstream leads. Its job is to lead everyone in a concentrated effort along a certain path of thought that really is designed for every individual. One doesn't have to do much to go along with it, and those thoughts and opinions become his thoughts and opinions. Everything seems quite natural as one gets moved from one corral to the next corral to the next corral. That's how it's done. It's very simple, because they are all on board with the same agenda at the same time. That's why there are news blizzes where the same controversial topics are explored across the world just at exact the same time. Is to raise public awareness, as they like to call it, as they condition everyone to accept a point of view. We are looking at a time now of incredible changes when the big boys and the eugenic societies and academia and the sciences, etc., are all working together towards this brave new world. Post-industrial, where they don't need all of the lower classes anymore. They don't even need the middle classes. In fact, they are very afraid of middle classes because down through history, it has always been the middle classes who have led the charge for change. That also helped the lower classes, and without the middle classes doing the charging or leading, unfortunately the lower classes tend not to do it themselves, or they fall into the extreme left wing, and that's designed for them and is ruled by the top from the elite anyway. That's a false paradigm. We are basically bystanders of our own destiny in a sense. The destiny is pre-written if we allow the guys at the top to get away with it. But unfortunately, there is a system on which they count on, and it's the general population. The bulk of every generation goes along with everything. One documentary had to do with mind control experiments done on prisoners. The test candidates volunteered to act as prisoners, others as guards, and before the day ended, they actually got into the roles, and you saw how the guards started abusing the prisoners. The prisoners literally would start reacting like prisoners, and before 2 or 3 days passed, it was just like a true prison situation. This was based on the fact that most people will accept the roles that are given to them, and that's what it is all about: obedience. And how obedience will work regardless of the conditions or the circumstances. Obedience will work with most people. The majority of people would even execute each other if they are told to, as long as someone else takes responsibility, a high authority. It's a sad statement to make, but it's true. And it's true that the system, which is used as a farce again, it's called democracy, to bring in this new world order, and it counts on the fact that the majority of the public will go along with anything that's thrown at them, and that forces the rest to go along. That's why they say to you, "What's wrong with you? Everyone has accepted this. Where's your problem?" Everyone else has no problem with it. That's what is used. That's the only part of democracy that is genuine. That is the only part they give us. They use the general population to go along and to force you along as well. Whether it has to do with inoculations or anything else, it doesn't matter. That's the basic system which is used.